You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from Rock Solid Studios in Granite Falls, it's time for MinneZona Sports, live with DJ Matty C. and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 75, the big 7-5 tonight. And without further ado, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Woods and Shore Studios in Aiken, Minnesota, Paul Volt, the Shield. What is going on, Shield?
You know, we get a bit of an early start with the show here this week, and you know what? I'm feeling pretty excited, but also at the same time, a little bit apprehensive about what we've got going on with our guest here today.
Yeah. And you know, we had some issues the first time he came on, and yes, he threw some absurd statements, but we wanted to let the zoners hear it a little bit more clearly because, well, there's a couple doozies in there, and I said it in our graphic as we were getting going here, and the main thing is we decided to give him another shot. Here it is, somehow, some way. But there are a lot of things that we did agree on with certain things. He can be reasonable to a point, but usually it's absurd statement territory, as what we like to say here on MinneZona Sports Live. So for Tater Tot hot take, we got Will Glancey on. We have Will Glancey on. We thanked him for coming on such short notice too, because we're having some other things lined up, but it fell through, and then he's like, yeah, I'll give it another shot. Yeah. We're giving you another shot. Now, zoners, you be the judges now, and you let us know. If there's absurd statement territory, you let us know in the comment section. We're going to keep up to date with it. So we have the recording with Mr. Will Glancey, and I assume he is tuning in. But, feel free to let us know your thoughts. We talk some Vikings. We talk a little bit of Twins. And then he goes on his absurd statement territory as well. So there's plenty. There's plenty to work with here tonight. So anyway, let's get it going with some Tater Tot hot take with Will Glancey. All right, welcome back on MinneZona Sports Live. We are back with some more Tater Tot hot take. And, we were debating. We first had a couple of guests planned this week. Mm-hmm. It didn't pan out that way, Voldy. But we did land somebody else, and I think we needed to give this guy a do-over, especially that Skype was having issues and things like that. He made some absurd statements, but then we're like, maybe we can put him on one more time. So we welcome back Will Glancey to MinneZona Sports Live. Are you ready? That's all I got. Are you ready to get some of these topics down? And then are you ready to be ripped by the zoners with absurd statements? What do you got?
Number one, I want all the smoke. Okay. All of it.
Yeah.
That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, my last appearance, there was nothing but facts. Okay. Tim Tebow versus Christian Ponder. There were nothing but facts, baby. Facts. Okay. And number three, I've been ready. Came out the womb ready.
See what we have to deal with. I mean, this happened in college too.
Who was it? I think it was Randy Moss who said he don't stretch because he's always ready. I didn't even stretch. Well, the thing is the comparison you and Randy Moss right now. It's not applicable. Yikes. That's just. I don't know about that. He may have a step or two on me at his current age, but I think I might have a shot. Maybe. Okay.
You're on absurd statement watch already. Absurd statement watch already. there's been one that has the lead, but you're approaching that territory. So we'll see. Anyway, let's just get to some Vikings talk. The big news, I think, this past week, and Voldy and I have touched on this last week too, with Kirk Cousins. Obviously, Kirk was on the COVID list. Kellen Mond tests positive for COVID-19, and Kirk Cousins and Nate Stanley, and especially Kellen Mond, they had to be in quarantine, all that fun stuff. And Kirk was out for a good amount of time. All signs for Kirk Cousins were pointing to he's unvaccinated. He addressed the media, and it seemed it's very much you could figure it out from there to say, yeah, he's definitely unvaccinated. He's like, social distancing works, masks work, and he keeps saying stuff like that. So Glancey, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on this whole Kirk Cousins situation with him just adhering to the protocols, and all signs are pointing to him probably he's unvaccinated. I think there's no question about it. So what do you think of all this media surrounding Kirk?
I mean, when you read about it, there's a lot of people, he's not vaccinated, this could cause problems and blah, blah, blah. I mean, looking at like the protocols and everything, it could hurt the team, but at the same time, like, I mean, he's a starting quarterback. I'm sure the Vikings are going to fudge some of the rules a little bit to get him in there and do everything that he needs to do because he is a starting quarterback. I mean, if this was the backup to the backup to the backup, it's like, yeah, whatever, stay home, But I don't agree with the media attacking him, so to speak. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, whether I agree or not. He's entitled to it. So just let him do his thing. And if it becomes a problem, I'm sure the Vikings are going to sit him down and say, hey, you got to get the vaccine. Or, even if he is, then they'll probably talk about something else. But signs point that he's not. So they'll probably sit him down and say, you got to get the vaccine. We got to get this taken care of. We're paying you all this money. We're not paying you to sit on the couch.
I would probably say that I think we would all agree that we disagree with how Kirk is kind of approaching this, because in my firm belief, I said this last week, but I think people are the NFL players should go and get vaccinated. Everyone should get vaccinated at this point, because, the stats even show too that a lot of the spike, the Delta variant right now, is because a lot of these people are unvaccinated, right? And I don't want to go into the nitty gritty with it, but like you're kind of talking about, Glance, I think it's one of those things where we look at Kirk Cousins and say, well, you're the quarterback. You should be setting the example, saying, get vaccinated, do this. And then obviously the hospital that he was with in Michigan, they dropped him. They said, we're terminating the contract with him because of some of his comments that he made. Now, with the media coming after him, and then people saying, well, he's only thinking about himself, and, things like that. And I think he's very firm in his stance. Now, if it works, great. But if he gets COVID and he has to miss, however long he has to miss, will that change his mind? Because we don't know. And he's never said like, hey, I'm unvaccinated, but it's quite clear at this point that he isn't. But Kirk Cousins, I think people should lay off if he is going to adhere to the protocols, mask, social distancing and things like that. Okay. And he said, well, it worked in 2020. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be okay this season. I think it's a concern, but we also have to remember we can't just attack him because it's like, oh, you're unvaccinated. What are you doing? If you're unvaccinated, this is what you'll have to adhere to. Okay. And Kirk's accepted that. So I guess we'll see, but maybe it'll change his mind. We'll see what happens. But Voldy, we talked about this on the show a lot too, but with everything that's come to light, just kind of the aftermath of this. I mean, what are your thoughts going into the season, I mean, does it make you a little bit worried? Does it make you kind of like, okay, I think he'll be fine type of thing, but makes you a little uneasy, doesn't it?
Well, it does a little bit from the sense that, obviously there's still a pandemic going on and everything. Right. And you've got this new variant that's been making its way around the world. Obviously, if it comes down to the nitty gritty, he's there, he's at practice, he's working with teammates. If he's not vaccinated, that's his decision. I'm perfectly fine with that. But when he gets sick and he gets COVID, who's to blame? That's his fault. He should have been vaccinated to begin with. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The fact that he's going through, and obviously the media is blowing this up as well, like the whole Cole Beasley situation, finding the most random, obscure guys to be kind of the poster children for this whole situation. Like, I'm not going to get vaccinated even if you paid me 2-3 times my salary kind of situation. Right. Like, obviously there's that going on as well with the whole, Cole Beasley thing up in Buffalo. But, it's just been since day one, Kirk Cousins has been he's been the guy that's kind of gotten all this criticism. This just so happens to be to throw another log on the dumpster fire that is off the field stuff that Kirk Cousins continues to find himself in. We already know the whole situation from last year, the whole if I die, I die situation too, that kind of made its way through the headlines too. But look, at the end of the day, if he doesn't get vaccinated, that's his decision. There are protocols in place as well. That throws a whole wrench in the situation. He gets sick, he gets COVID. Well, that's his fault at the end of it all.
Exactly. And I think you put it beautifully. It's like you said, it's his fault if he gets, COVID, but we don't see him going out to nightclubs and partying and having all these people. I think he probably goes to practice. He goes home with his kids, with his wife, and he's fine.
Lord, I hope so.
Let's hope. Yeah, one would hope. And I think he's adhering to the protocols and things like that. So that's good to hear. But then again, you can social distance all you want. You can, put on a mask all you want to. You can still contract the virus. So I think that that's something to put into perspective too. But like we're all saying, let's just think about this for a second and say, okay, if he's doing what he's supposed to do, then we shouldn't worry, but there's always that outside chance that this is going to happen. So, if it could cost the Vikings a game or two. It could.
It very well could. Yeah.
So we don't want that to happen. And that's the big thing. So anyway, we wanted to kind of get to that, and we got everyone's thoughts on it. So that's perfect. All right. So obviously kind of the big news from last week, Justin Jefferson has a shoulder sprain, AC joint. I believe most of us saw the video with JJ. It didn't look good at first. We were kind of scratching our heads like, oh God, what, like, no, this can't happen. This can't happen. So Glance, where were you? No, I'm just kidding. Kind of your thoughts on this situation. Do you think, and let me ask you this, do you think that they should just shut him down the rest of the preseason, Justin Jefferson?
Well, I doubt if anything, he'll play more than a series.
Yeah.
I think, who was it? I was on 9 to Noon today. They were talking with one of the co-offensive assistants.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about they're probably not going to even play the starters and just get a look at the guys that they couldn't get a look at last year, which makes sense. We finally have preseason, albeit it is preseason. It's not a regular game, but it's still football. I think you just let him practice, let him work his way back slowly, maybe a series, and that's it. I mean, from all reports, it sounds like it's not going to be serious. He'll be ready to go week 1, and that's really what you aim for. Okay, you had this injury. Let's nurse it. Let's baby it. Let's take it slow. We'll get you ready for week 1 because, I mean, you're our number 1 now, and Adam Thielen would be 1B at this point in his career. So you kind of have to.
Yeah, and I would say that have him play a little bit, and I think it's one of those things where they're just going to have to watch and see how he does. Obviously, having him as just now a day-to-day And then also they have the practice at US Bank, which went pretty well from what I hear. And I was actually listening on my way to work, actually. He was taking photos and things like that on the with the shoulder, and he was moving it fine and everything. So that's a good sign. That's a very good sign, because we sure as hell need him. You got the jersey on. There's a reason why you got that jersey on with JJ. So it's good news. But when I first saw it, I was like, obviously, oh crap. Obviously, I would say something here, but this is PG with a sprinkle of 13. But I don't think this is going to hamper him during the season. It's just a sprain, and it's not super serious. At first, you look at it, you're like, oh God, please no. That there goes like our dreams of. I mean, unless guys would step up, but dreams of the playoffs and things like that. Oh man, that'd be bad. But Breland was on the coverage, obviously with that too. So it's good to hear that he's going to be okay. So we're happy with that. But Voldy, what are your thoughts on this kind of whole thing with Jefferson? Do you think that they should shut him down in the preseason here and just kind of let him rest and then be ready to go week 1?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same realm with Glance here too. It's like, if he's not going to play more than, at most, I wouldn't even say a quarter of this whole preseason, just because of the fact we're down to what now 3 preseason games as opposed to 4. Because first 2 games you'd play a series the first game, second game you'd probably play a quarter, then you'd go like a full dress rehearsal for the third one, and then game 4 it's just all watching the scrubs fight out for those last handful of positions that are going to be, and practice squad guys too. But if he plays more than a quarter, I'd be fine. But if it ends up being a series or 2 in the preseason, I'm perfectly fine. I'm sure he wants to be out there. He wants to get, game ready as well with a full preseason, as opposed to just jumping right into game 1, week 1. But if it ends up being that way too, I feel like it'll take him maybe a game, maybe a half. Who knows? I mean, we jumped out right away. It took, a half of game number 1 for us to see the true potential that was Justin Jefferson too. But the way it's sounding too, things could be on the better side, hopefully. And you know what? This is why Minnesota can't have things nice. Can't have nice things ever. Ever. This is just another case in point of why nice things always end up being bad for Minnesota. So let's just hope this is just a small bump in the road for the Vikes this year.
Well, when you think about it, Minnesota nice, but we never get anything nice.
Exactly.
And like you were talking about, I mean, that's just kind of how it is in Minnesota. But we dodged a bullet. I think we could agree on that and whatnot. But, aside from the injury, I kind of want your thoughts on this too, Glance and Voldy. What is kind of the main thing for Jefferson? Then we're going to move on to Twins here. But for Jefferson, obviously he has this stellar rookie year. Should have won Rookie of the Year, but that's a different conversation for another time. How do you guys think that he'll avoid a sophomore slump? Because, there have been some, players that have this really good rookie year, but then they kind of start to decline, start steadily going down, and then they come back, How does Jefferson avoid that sophomore slump is what I'm technically asking here. Obviously 100, total over 114,000 yards last season. Most by any rookie in the Super Bowl era. Teams are going to key in on him. They're going to, make adjustments. But when you have your boy Thielen, our boy Thielen, going too, I mean, it's going to be hard to try and stop both of them. Irv Smith is having a great training camp too, so we got to factor that in. But Glance, what are your thoughts? How does he avoid this sophomore slump that, people kind of talk about? And, I think they overanalyze too. But what are your thoughts?
I think as far as numbers go, it's not going to be – the numbers are going to be down, but like yards per catch, yards per after yards after the catch.
Yeah.
Those are going to be good numbers. I don't think he'll have 1,400 and everything because I think more so you're going to get D.D. Westbrook and he's going to get in there and he's going to take the top off. You're going to have Adam Thielen shaking dudes.
Because let's remember, I don't mean to cut you off, but Voldy and I talked about this on the show too with Tajay Sharp. We thought, oh, Tajay Sharp's going to be a nice compliment to Thielen. He played one game, made one appearance, I think, Voldy, like we said.
Yep.
But Dede Westbrook, I think it's going to be a lot more different. But please continue.
Yeah, well, Dede has a better track record than Tajay Sharp did as well. But the same thing too is that there's only one ball, and you got all these playmakers. You're going to have Cook coming out of the backfield.
Yep.
They've been running Wildcat now, so there is that. You got Irv Smith. You got Tyler Gronklin. Yes, I said it. And there's only one ball. So, you heard me.
I like it. I like where your head's at, Glance. I like that.
That's got to be proven. And you got to have a long career with that, too. So let's not get to that absurd statement point now.
Like
I love
Conklin. One ball to go around. So the numbers are going to be down, but deep dive on the numbers, his numbers are still going to be solid. It's just not going to be 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns type of the season.
Right. So, but anyway, I mean, if I think Conklin is showing a lot of promise these past couple seasons, so I like what I've been seeing. So that's another weapon to add on, with the offense. And like you said, there's a lot of pieces in this off. Cook, you got Irv, you got Thielen, Dede, BB as well. And then let's not forget Amir Smith-Marset. I mean, that guy has been having a good training camp too. So there's options, as the Curve Doctor likes to say. So Voldy, I asked the same question to you. How does JJ avoid the sophomore slump?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just being healthy is the thing too, going into the start of the year. Obviously the shoulder thing is going to be something to keep an eye on as well. If it gets aggravated early on, that's going to be in his mindset at the beginning of the year too. But being healthy is certainly the first one as well. Is just being comfortable with what Glance has been bringing up too. Is the numbers are definitely not going to be the numbers that they are going into this year too. There's a lot more viability this year too when you factor in that obviously that the tight end situation is going to be hopefully a little more prevalent than it was with just Irv Smith, and then occasionally you might see one or two catches from Rudolph a game, if not in a 2-3 game span, maybe a touchdown out of the tight end position. Running game is going to be as solid as it can be with Dalvin, and also you throw in Madison in there as well to counteract that balance. If anything, the receptions might go down. Yards per catch might go up just a touch too. If they try to extend the field, you get Thielen in the mix there as well. Having that true third receiver is going to also be helpful. So everything might balance out a little bit more in that. So it's a little bit more even in some regards, but I'm excited to see what the second year can do. Also coming with a veteran wide receiver coach in, Keenan McCardell, who's been there top to bottom, good teams, really bad teams, everywhere in between too, to help guide a young receiving core with like the likes of Dede Westbrook, who's been in the league for a few years, and then also with JJ as well, to be able to push him in the right direction, if not to be continue with the numbers he's put up, but also continue to be at that professional level too.
Exactly. And I think, like you said, I think the numbers will be a little bit down. But I think it'll go over 1,000. I really do believe that, just because, the amount of how they're going to be able to run the ball. And that's kind of the main thing. And yes, with the Dennison situation, I mean, he's still going to be around. It's going to be Rauscher kind of taking the helm with the offensive line. But I also think too that, they're going to have new wrinkles. It's not like Clint Kubiak's going to be like, all right, Dad, I'm going to take all your plays and put them into mine. I mean, yeah, you can, pick and choose, but add some more wrinkles to it so the defense is caught off guard is all I'm saying with that. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. I think he's going to have a great season. I think he'll, after, he gets healed up from this injury, he'll be okay. And hopefully everybody's healthy. That's kind of the main thing. And obviously with Michael Pierce with his calf, hopefully he's able to go too. So we'll see what happens. Training camp so far has been okay. And, first preseason game this Saturday. So we'll keep in tune with that. All right, let's move over to a team that really doesn't have a lot of hope right now, the Minnesota Twins. The trade deadline has come and gone. Jose Barrios has been traded. Jacque has been traded as well. Glance and Voldy's, he's already getting a headache with this and with the Twins. But, it hasn't been a great season. And Glance, you're a big Twins guy.
Unfortunately, this year.
Yes. And the pitching has always been the pitching. Yes, I understand there have been injuries. Yes, I understand that there's been, all this other stuff that has been happening, but they were supposed to be quite good this year, and they've completely dropped the ball. Glance, let me get your thoughts first on, the trade deadline trades with Barrios and Happ. We talked about it last week, but let's get your thoughts, and then we'll kind of move on to some other house cleaning with this pitching staff, this awful pitching staff. So, Glance, what are your thoughts on the trades?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Barrios had to go, although I do like what we got in return for him. Although sending him to the Blue Jays, it was more for us than it was for him, obviously. Blue Jays aren't going to go anywhere, not in that division. But I like what we got in return. I'm hopeful for the future. It's just very unfortunate that the season fell the way that it did. A lot of injuries. Pitching was terrible. Closing, the bullpen. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm with you, Voldy. So, it sucks that we had to get rid of some very core players that could have panned out to be extremely good in the future, but you kind of got to move on if they're not going to sign. You got to get what you can. So I like what we got. I'm excited to see what we got. They're top prospects, so if anything, they should at least be quality players. So it's something to look forward to, at least, which I kind of feel like we've been doing that since about 2010 with the Twins, but
it's a cycle. It's a cycle. And that's why that they've been having the issues that they've had, is because it goes, okay, this guy, okay, we get this guy. He's got a lot of promise. He's in the farm system. He comes up, he plays well, but then, you know what? We have to pay him. We better trade him. Get some more prospects. Then the cycle continues and continues and continues. So it's frustrating beyond belief. And like you were talking about with Barrios, it was more of it was clear he didn't want to be here. Okay. Mm-hmm. He kind of made that known. He wanted a new contract, and the Twins were like, we're probably not going to give it to you. And we all know why. We all know why with this team, with this ownership. We get it. But right now, you have Kenta Maeda, who hasn't been himself since last year. Pineda has had good games mostly, but they're games that he's been kind of But now these spots, Jacque was just bad in general. A couple outings here and there, but he was a guy that was good, like Voldy says, 5 years ago. And the Twins like to sign those types of guys. Now, a lot of these spots are being filled with rookies like Bailey Ober, Griffin Jax, Charlie Barnes. First of all, the last two, who? I don't know who those guys are. So there's that to throw in. And yes, they've been hit with Domnak getting hurt, Thorpe hurt, Smeltzer hurt. But it just throws a wrench into things. Stashak, Robles, off the roster as well. He's gone. John Gant they pick up, and they got some prospects and things like that, but there's no what's the best way? There's no consistency. There's no consistency with this team when it comes to getting guys. And the reason why, and we all know why, is because they don't spend money. It's because they don't go out and get the guys. They're in contention with some of these teams. They say, well, we tried to give him a contract. We were in talks with this guy, but you still got beat out by all these teams. They want to give you hope, but they say, well, we didn't get him. That type of thing. I think we're agreeing too much, because I was listening to Glance before the show, and we're going to wrap this up. But you're throwing some absurd statements our way. I mean, what do you have? I mean, that's the big thing. And now remember, we already have one person that's in the lead on this. We have to wait till after the NFL season to make that determination. But unless you have something right now, what do you have for us?
Listen, with the Kirk Cousins situation, the possibility of him missing a few games due to COVID, okay? Don't be surprised if mid-November you see somebody familiar in the Vikings practice facility backing up because, I mean, the future 6-time NFL MVP, 10-time Super Bowl MVP, Kellen Mond, okay? He needs to learn a little bit, okay? But you got to have somebody to back up Kirk who's ready to go. And we all know that future 2021 NFL MVP, Christian Ponder, will be ready to go. He will break NFL records, and he will lead us to the promised land, okay? With a late signing of Adrian Peterson to rock that ball, okay?
Hey, Voldy, why don't you finish this segment? I'm out. See ya.
That's all it took to get him out of here. I should have did that at the beginning.
You should have done that like 5 years ago.
Now I know that you said that.
You've been saying it for years about Christian Ponder. I mean, I do like the whole Adrian Peterson situation. I think it's time to mend fences with that. But come on, really? You're still holding on, Ponder? I mean, come on.
In a real sense, the Vikings should sign Adrian Peterson because I don't think we have a real goal line running back.
Well,
you know, like a 1 yard, we need him to get that 1 yard. Dalvin can get it, but he's not a real powerhouse running back. Where Adrian Peterson, guys still, they jump out of their cleats and ask for their mom when he is running downhill.
Well, you got CJ Ham. You won't have to worry about that. Right?
But they never give him the rock. That's the unfortunate part.
Well, because he's a fullback. I mean, you know, because you'd give him the rock. I mean, to switch things up, thinking they're going to go to Dalvin and then give it to Ham. I mean, but that's not going to happen. They're not going to sign Adrian.
Like if it's fourth and goal from the half-yard line, we've seen what's happened in the last year. They're trying to finesse their way into the end zone. Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Give AP his 5 carries, 5 carries, 4 yards, 2 touchdowns a game. And if it just so happens it ends up, look, I'm sure he's all about collecting his pension now at this point and trying to pad some of those stats here before they give him the gold jacket at 5 years after he retires. Because I mean, in my mind, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my mind. Yeah. Let's give him his due, put him back in purple, let him score a few more TDs and ride off into the sunset the right way.
Let's not avoid the fact that what Glancey just said. Okay,
obviously
what he just said with Christian Ponder, and he still thinks that he's going to be. He hasn't played in the league 4 years or something like that. Come on, man.
At least it's like 7 or 8 now at this point.
Listen, in all honesty, it's just his draft position that really derailed his career. Yes. You take him in the first round when he was really second, third round. Right. And that might even be a stretch. Okay. You draft him later, you let him blossom. And next thing you know, you got AP going for 12 to 15 touchdowns while Ponder's throwing for 30.
Jeez.
I mean, tell me I'm wrong. There is another quarterback that was taken perfectly for his career. And now he's, what is it? 7 Super Bowls deep now? I'm just saying.
I always hold my breath thinking, maybe this time when he comes on, he won't say anything absurd, but that's just wrong. That is just so awful. Wrong. That is awful. But the thing is I know he doesn't really believe it, but there is one. I mean, it's close. I mean, we could change it, but I know you don't believe that. I know you don't believe that. So you're laughing. See, that's what I'm saying.
On a real note, you ready? This is a real one. Okay. There is a disgruntled wide receiver whom I don't want, but I would not mind coming out of the slot. He's down in New Orleans. Okay.
Oh, for God's sake.
Salary's a bit high for me, especially if you only run slant routes.
Don't say it.
But I wouldn't be opposed to a decent trade for Michael Thomas. Sounds like New Orleans Saints want to get rid of him anyways, so why not give him a low ball?
I don't want that crybaby here. We already have two guys that are fine. Two guys.
He's a proven middle of the field wide receiver with Thielen. I mean, he could still go deep. You got Jefferson who could go deep. It's a perfect marriage. And who better to take Slant Boy and put him in his place than Mike Zimmer?
Fair enough.
Take him, bend him over his knee, and he'll spank him like a baby.
I think there are rules against that.
I think there are rules against that.
I think bringing him in is just worth the price of punishment alone as well.
They're going to be well over the cap. Worth it. If it won't happen, first of all. But
yeah, true.
Yeah. All right, I think we've had enough of your absurd statements for this segment.
That's a legit one. That's legit. I mean, come on.
Do you really think they're gonna say, well, yeah, let's Michael Thomas, and everything like that? That's not going to happen. They would have to they would have to pull off a miracle to get Michael Thomas.
No, what have we seen in the past 10 to 12 months that has proven that the Saints are going to keep him long term? All he is a problem for Sean Payton and ownership and the front office. And at some point, they're going to say, this guy, we got to figure something out. We got to get him out of here. And that's when the Vikings swoop in and go, you got a problem? We'll take him.
Look, if they trade him, the thing is I could care less what happens to those damn Aints. Okay, I could care less. If they trade Thomas, fine, and he has a great career somewhere else, fine. But he is not coming to Minnesota. He's not coming to Minnesota. Okay, let's just put it like that. It ain't gonna happen.
I'm telling you, and you go, hey, you guys got a problem in the locker room. Listen, you pay a good majority of that salary, we'll take them right off your hands. It's happening all over the league.
Yes,
I think the Falcons still had to pay a portion of Julio Jones to get him out of there. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. All right.
Yeah, I don't even know. He might be a problem in the locker room if we bring him here too. So Diggs, when he was last year, things were not great either. So not saying it's not saying Zim can't do it. Just saying. Ain't gonna happen. Just putting it that simple for you.
Well, yeah, and Diggs, I don't know. Diggs is different. He's a little bit of a different animal. He's more of a passive aggressive Minnesota style. Okay.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. But anyway,
it's coming. It's coming. He's leaving New Orleans.
Oh,
that's
goodness.
a fact.
We'll see. Anyway, Glance, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Yes, you have a lot of absurd statements, but there were some things that we agreed with on. So that's good. That's good. It makes for good content and everything like that for MinneZona Sports Live, especially that you still haven't bought a shirt yet or gotten stickers or gotten a sweatshirt, but we can forgive you.
Where am I going to put a sticker? Where
on your anywhere on your car.
Put it over your mouth so you don't keep coming up with these absurd statements.
Listen,
boom.
Listen, he says that now. But earlier, he was like, gosh, I agree with Glance. I mean, I need
different situation.
Different situation. I need that.
Yeah.
That'll be my ringtone.
Listen. This, if you buy this, it's only $20, $5 shipping. Okay. It helps us keep the show on air. Okay. Any donation that comes to us, it keeps us on air. So we bring in this. Glance, come on, man. Come on. Let me get you set up.
Listen, you want to stay on air? I'll fire off a couple texts. We'll get Brett Favre in here. How about that?
Yeah. Okay.
That'll work.
Now, it'll be great if you pull that off, but I don't know. That we still have tried to get Kate Upton on, and that still hasn't happened yet. But we're still in talks.
You want me to go get her right now? She's right over there.
Yeah. Okay, bud. All right. Anyway, Glance, thanks for coming on. And we'll have more absurd statements later on. So coming up next. What's there to say? I mean, there's a lot that was said, and the zoners have seen this too. But at the end there, Voldy, you roasted him. You got him. You absolutely got him.
I had to.
You just take a bumper sticker and just put it right on his mouth so he can't say anything else. But there was a lot. It's a lot to take in, and obviously, hopefully, he gets some more. Merch here, because not only does it help us, it keeps us on air. You put forth some money, and hey, keeps us on air for eCam. We bring you the show. But anyway, we do thank Glance for coming on. I guess we can throw him a bone in regards to that. But it was fun. It was a fun interview. So we appreciate his time, and we got a lot of things. He says, talking with Favre's agent right now. All right, well, I need proof. That's all I got to say.
Sign it up. Make it happen.
Yeah, if you can make it happen, make it happen. All right, Voldy, let's get it going with some Where Are They Now? We've got some really good ones tonight. So
we do.
We got a Viking and we got a Twin. So we'll let you guys kind of figure out. And you guys can give us some suggestions too. So where are these guys now?
Check your milk carton. It's time for Where Are They Now?
I want to give some props to the Kerf doctor for the milk carton thing that we gave to Austin. I didn't think of that. I don't know who thinks of that type of stuff, but apparently the Kerf doctor does. But
apparently.
Anyway, where are they now? We got a couple good ones. Voldy, why don't we start with you tonight?
All right.
This guy that we were chatting about, I think a lot of zoners are very familiar with. So why don't you take it away here, Voldy?
Well, there was always one player with the Minnesota Vikings in his short time that seemed to have an impact on the game, whether he was actually on or off the field in multiple ways. Mostly because when he came to the Minnesota Vikings, when he was drafted, they didn't really know what to do with him. And he was drafted at a time where there was a lot of transition with the team. And that's right, we're talking about everybody's favorite emergency quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, personal blocker, kick returner, jack of all trades, master of none, that being Joseph Webb Jr., or better known as Joe Webb himself. Where are they now? Well, let's take a look at how we got to this point in our lives. We all know the story. Joe Webb gets drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. 2010, last year of the Metrodome, and obviously the Metrodome got sent out in a direction that didn't quite exactly, well, actually I should say the year the dome collapsed, I should say, is when it happened. A different story altogether with that, too. We've already covered that with the North Remembers. But 2010, nobody really expected what to do with Joe Webb. And it was a very different time for the Minnesota Vikings. Coming off the success of the 2009 campaign with Brett Favre. Brett Favre gets hurt at the end of the season. And lo and behold, who has to step in? None other than Joe Webb. Ends up coming in for 5 games. And you know what? I would say that... I wouldn't say the numbers were great, but they were certainly very interesting for a guy who was a rookie altogether. Week 16, let's fast forward through the first 15 weeks. In fact, let's start at Week 15. How about we start at that? Week 15, suffering a loss to the Chicago Bears, 40-14. That was the first start for Joe Webb. The game that was moved from the Metrodome to the outdoors as well. For that contest against the Bears because, well, they decided to take things outside for that because, well, there was that whole situation with, the dome collapsing. So they had to move that game. That was a Monday night game as well. And, of course, they were celebrating 50 seasons of the Minnesota Vikings, so might as well move the game outdoors. Not a good contest. Brett Favre gets hurt early in that game, has to go in. Fast forward to week 16, Vikings are sitting in a situation where they've got a chance to make the playoffs, and you know what? They end up actually losing by the score of, it was 20-13 in that contest. Not exactly a chance for them as well in that one. They finished the season 6-10. Fast forward a couple years later, Joe Webb has to make another appearance in the season as well. But a very interesting, actually just sticking with that whole 2010 season. And we all know the hoopla that was with that December 28th, 2010 game in Philly. Nobody expected the Vikings to win that one. It was the height of the Andy Reid, Mike Vick years in Philly. They end up pulling up the upset in a big way, 24-14 on a Tuesday. Because they had that, a blizzard or something in Philly, so they had to move the game to a Tuesday as opposed to a Sunday night when they were supposed to play that game. Vikings get the upset. They still finish the season 6-10. So from that point, you think the legend of Joe Webb is going to grow even bigger. Well, not exactly in that sense. 2011 comes rolling around. Joe Webb plays a handful of games, doesn't really get a starting quarterback, wide receiver, kick return role. Not a real clear spot for him with the team overall. 2012 in this case, he ends up having to make an emergency situation and ends up actually starting in the wild card game against the Green Bay Packers. They didn't win that one. In a must-win situation, Week 17, Vikings did win 37-34, but next week in the playoffs in the wild card round, Vikings end up lose 24-10 as well. There was no way the Vikings were to come out with that one with Joe Webb. So the writing was kind of on the wall for Joe Webb in that situation. There was no real clear role for him with the team overall. Just a real gadget play kind of personality. Throw him in the Wildcat, see what he can do with it. So ends up sticking around for 2013, plays in 16 games as well. Only gets one start towards the end of the year. Then he ends up going to Carolina. Plays in a handful of games there, lasts all the way from 2014, 2015, 2016. So ends up playing in, being a part of the Super Bowl team for the Carolina Panthers. Doesn't really end up doing anything there. But 2017 comes rolling around, age 31 season. I'm just going to throw it out there. Might have been one of the better years for Joe Webb in that situation. Ends up leading a game-winning drive in about, I think it was later in the season for Joe Webb in that contest against the likes of the Indianapolis Colts in a game where they ended up winning late in Buffalo as well. Then after that goes a situation in Houston in 2018 for Joe Webb, thinking, might give this a shot here. Comes close a little bit, the whole bouncing back and forth with an injured likes of Deshaun Watson. Then he's out of the league in 2019. 2020 comes rolling around, the whole universal quarterback situation with the New York Giants. Ends up actually playing a couple of games with the likes of the Giants, with Daniel Jones going down as well. Obviously, by that point, Eli's out of the system altogether. Thank God for that. But and then this offseason hasn't been very kind to Joe Webb. Gets released by the New York Giants as well, which is almost as bad as getting let go by Cleveland, especially if your quarterback fell. But beyond that, it's been real quiet with Joe Webb. He's been doing a little work with his alma mater, University of Alabama, Birmingham, the Blazers, that brought their team back after being shut down for a couple of years with that whole program down there as well. But other than that, Joe Webb's been pretty quiet since the end of last season, and was hoping to try to make something of an age 34 quarterback back in the NFL. But what the potential that was there early in his career didn't really lead to a whole lot of success. And like Glancey did bring up as well, there was one quarterback that did bring the Vikings to the playoffs in 2012, and that was Joe Webb, and certainly did make a nice run at it. But unfortunately, the Vikings, with a lot of players and a lot of situations overall, just didn't know what they had until it was gone.
Well, I just real quick, obviously, because then I'll get to mine. But, Joe Webb was, I thought, had some potential. The thing is we never, like you said, we never knew what we wanted to do with, or Vikings never knew. Yeah, right, exactly. And Cordero as well. And then you look at that, too. But with Joe Webb was somebody that can make some plays, but his throws were inaccurate. Among other things, he could run, which is great, having some mobility, but it just never really worked. And it's nothing against Joe Webb, but all in all, I mean, he had some exciting plays, and we've both talked about this before too. So there's that to factor in. Glance says Cleveland is on the come up. The Ravens better watch out.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They are. Stefanski leading the charge.
Keenum, that guy, that Baker kid, whatever.
Yeah,
I think he might stick
Field May, something like that. Anyway, let's move on to mine and zoners. Please throw in some suggestions if you would like, and if you think there's some interesting ones that we should know about. Here's mine. This revolves around the Minnesota Twins, and this was a guy that I really enjoyed watching. I was a big fan of this guy too. I planned on getting a jersey, but I never got to it, which I'm kind of kicking myself for. But this player was exciting to watch, and he had some pretty good years. He was with the Twins for 7 seasons, and he goes by the name, and I feel like this name is just it rolls off the tongue so nicely, Voldy. I don't know. It's the one, the only Jacque Jones, baby. I loved Jacque Jones. He was with the Twins for 7 years. And to be honest, there really wasn't a terrible season from Jacque Jones. He kept it above when he was with the Twins, mostly above 250 with his hitting percentage. He also could also hit the long ball too. Jacque was a guy that was a great player for the Twins. And he played in left field, and he played some DH, things like that at some points in time. But this guy could hit the ball. And he hit over 300 a couple times, in 2002, 2003 when the Twins were really getting going. He started with the Twins in 1999, which is kind of surprising. I didn't think he would be. But, the most home runs he's hit, in 2002 he had 27. And then I believe for the Cubs he had 27. So he tied it when he went to the Cubs. But Jacque Jones, I feel like, was a very underrated baseball player for the Minnesota Twins. And he had some pop to his bat. He could hit the long ball, but I think he was just more of a guy that came through in big moments too. And he complemented Torrey Hunter perfectly, I feel like, in the outfield. And he was a true team player. Now, things started to kind of go downhill, somewhat for him. He was hitting 254, which isn't awful, but then the next year he hits 249. And then it probably went to a point after 2005 to say, we're going to move on here, which kind of sucks because, Jacque Jones was with the team for 7 years. He was a good player. So he goes to the Cubs. He plays well for the Cubs for 2 seasons. He had 285 both seasons. Oh, that's surprising. He had 285 both seasons for the Cubs. Then after that, he goes to Detroit, which is kind of surprising as well. But things didn't pan out very well in Detroit. He tried to get things started back up with the Marlins, and things just didn't go well. But I wondered, when I picked Jacque Jones for this week, Voldy, I thought, what is he doing now? You know what I mean? Like, obviously, this is the perfect segment for it. But I was looking up some articles to see what he's been doing. But he's been doing some stuff in San Diego. He's given back to the San Diego community, and he started an organization called All Hands on Deck. It's about grooming kids from his neighborhood for success, whether it's on the baseball field or in the classroom. So he's really given back to the community. And they said, played 10 seasons, and he's doing quite well. He's in San Diego. Things are going well. He played at USC. I didn't know that. And then he was a member of the U.S. Olympic team for baseball, and it's one of those things where we didn't really appreciate a guy, from back when, because I grew up on that. I grew up watching these guys. I grew up watching a Jacque Jones, Torrey Hunter, Johan, Eddie, Everyday Eddie, guys like that. And, I feel like he was a key piece to the Minnesota Twins' success in those years with the Twins, too. So he's doing well. He's teaching baseball, and he's just a great human being right now, and he's enjoying life, and he's got a great organization, and we wish him well. But where are they now? That's where Jacque Jones. He's in San Diego. Hopefully he comes back, and maybe the Twins retire his number. No. Maybe. It's still, we'll see. But I really liked the way he played. So any more thoughts on Jacque Jones, Voldy?
It's kind of funny we talk about, celebrating some of these players, too, with this weekend the Twins are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the 91 team. But I'm looking at the situation. Obviously, you can celebrate the World Series championships. When are the Twins going to start celebrating some of these great teams that we had in the early 2000s? You'll look at the numbers that Jacque Jones put up in his time from 2000 all the way to 2005 when he was with the Twins. Those are some really good years for the Twins when they were winning the AL Central like crazy, and they were just, obviously it's the Central, so you're winning in the last handful of days of the season too, but making the playoffs, making some runs in the postseason when you aren't playing the Yankees and or the Angels in the first round too. But I mean, he was durable. I mean, he's putting up 130, 140, 150 plus games each year as well. I mean, he was putting up 20 home runs, averaging about 20 home runs a season, about 78 RBIs in that time frame as well. I mean, those are some good teams, and it's just, one of those mistaken and misunderstood gems of Minnesota Twins baseball, the fact that those teams were, you look at back some of the players that were a part of those teams, too, especially in the twilight of some careers like a Brad Radke, a Kevin Erickson as well. Then you throw in guys like, Johan in his young days as well, Eric Milton at the same time, and then you throw in the guys like Jacque Jones, Torrey Hunter. Then you start expanding forward with Cuddy in the lineup, Mauer, Morneau, and, Christian Guzman for a hot second with the Twins. I mean, those some very throwback names too. It's just like crazy to even think about that those guys were even Twins in the first place, playing in the Metrodome, and then just realizing, what we had was good, and then it was lost. But it's always good to even think about Jacque Jones in the first place, and always they'll look back at some of those years in the early 2000s was great.
Yeah, especially just kind of looking when I was looking for photos and everything. This photo here just reminds it's the dome. And
the dome,
those jerseys, right
field, the giant murals of the retired numbers hanging up right center because they can never sell them out.
Yeah.
The god-awful scoreboard on top of the bleachers in left field.
Even for the Vikes, too. Yeah, good times. But speaking of the dome, I'll get to Glancey here, then we'll move on to ARA. If the Vikings settled on a spot, he could have carved out a spot on the team for a while. You can't teach accurate passing. You can't teach speed. Should have left him in the QB room, and that's it.
Exactly. They should have just made him your quarterback. Deal with it.
Yeah. Well, that's just how it is, I guess. Anyway, Voldy, let's move on to Absurd or Approved. We got some good ones. A lot of them involving the Olympics, and not only that, NHL as well. So let's get it going with some Absurd or Approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, in an early start to the Olympic chase for the Team USA men's basketball squad, we thought this streak might be in jeopardy after they had their 25-game Olympic winning streak snapped early in the qualifying round against the team that they ended up beating for the gold medal. Team USA did beat France 87-82 last week to win its fourth straight gold medal in the Olympics. The second longest streak in the history of the event as well, with Team USA actually winning gold medals for 7 straight Olympics from 1936 all the way to 1968. And you know what? The team decided to take a little bit of a proactive route with the likes of, Zach LaVine, Kevin Durant. You throw in Devin Booker as well. A little bit of Draymond Green stirring up the pot at the same time. They decided to respond to a little bit of the criticism that came their way in the early get-go of the Olympics, with them taking a couple of losses before they even touched down in Tokyo, and then ultimately losing to France in the qualifying round. Looking at it as a whole, do you think, is it absurd or approved, KD, Kevin Durant, and Team USA's comments to the criticism after winning the gold medal?
Look, a lot of this, and I said this before, is they can't lose to these teams. And they shouldn't. And when they lost in the like you said, the qualifying round and the exhibition and whatnot, I think they said, we need to look ourselves in the mirror and fix this. And they did. They ultimately did. And the criticism for them to kind of get back at some people, because a lot of people thought that they weren't winning gold this year. I, for one, didn't think that, because there's too much talent on this team. There's way too much talent on this team. Kevin Durant, Book, throwing the likes of Damian Lillard, guys like that know how to score. I thought if Popovich, there was some tension. People thought it was tension with Popovich and the players, and they didn't like the system that they were running. How about you change up some things, or just give the ball to KD? That's all they had to do. And what did they do? KD scores 29 in that game to end this. And that is what you're supposed to do. You have one of the best basketball players on Team USA. You utilize him, right? You absolutely utilize him. You look at Damian Lillard. He stepped up big. And then Draymond has got to be the driving force, being the voice of these guys, too. Now, the criticisms that people, I think Kendrick Perkins was talking crap and saying, like, they're not going to win. They're going to get the bronze or whatever, maybe even less than that. And they basically went back at everybody. And they said, well, that's weird. You guys said that we were going to lose, and, look at us now type of thing. It's got my stamp of approval, especially because those guys, talking all this smack and people not believing in them, and then they went out and proved that they're going to win the gold medal. And they thought their time is up and everything along those lines. But I think if you're Team USA right now, you are thanking Kevin Durant a lot. Absolutely a lot. And that's what you need to have. You need to have guys like KD on this team that are going to step up big. And not just KD. There's got to be some compliments to him as well. And there was with Lillard and Book and Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. So there was enough there. They worked their butts off, and I'm glad they won gold. And if they didn't get gold, it would be an abject failure. And then they'd have to bring back the Redeem team, back in, was it 2008 or something like that?
2008, yeah.
Yeah, 2008. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval, just proving people wrong and having fun with it. And Draymond kind of got a little overboard, but whatever. Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you reap what you sow is kind of the thing, and I think the comments were right on point. I mean, KD went out there and he showed out. Obviously, the fact that an early round exit in the playoffs certainly did fuel to that. James Harden thrown in the mix there as well, along with Damian Lillard and crew. You get Devin Booker in the later stages of, after that finals run that the Suns had, and I think it was absolutely on point to the fact that Team USA really rallied for this one because of the fact that they took those exhibition losses. They also took that opening round loss to France, and lo and behold, they end up playing for the gold medal. And I think that was kind of the extra step needed. And now KD and crew get to rub it in everybody's faces for 4 more years to the next time it comes around. Because we don't know. 3 straight Olympic golds for KD. I don't think he has anything else left to prove, at least for the Olympic side of things. He still needs a win, win one for himself. Obviously, he won one with the Golden State Warriors, but let's be honest, we're not going to count that one as his only title for that his own title for that one. He kind of hitched his wagon to that crew out in Golden State, so he needs to win one for himself, basically, an NBA title too. But I think the comments are absolutely on point. It's got my stamp of approval.
And I kind of like Metz's comment here. I thought it was pretty funny. Katie's the type of person who would respond to someone who called him out for not looking both ways before crossing the street. And we know that because he likes to make a fuss on Twitter too. So there's that. Anyway, next one, Voldy.
Well, speaking of stirring the pot a little bit, Green Bay Packers are doing everything just to piss off the entire world, especially for Aaron Rodgers as well. It was announced earlier this week that the 2021 preseason will be all Jordan Love. Coach Matt LaFleur said earlier this week that quarterback Aaron Rodgers will, quote, most likely not play at all in the preseason. It has likely little or nothing to do with Rodgers' offseason, in which he voices concerns about the organization and also skipped the entire spring program. Rodgers simply hasn't played much at all in recent preseasons. Now, given the light of the situation, it was the offseason, the comments leading up to and during training camp as well, is it absurd or approved that him not playing the preseason at all may be one of the final pieces in breaking up the Rodgers-Packers marriage, DJ Matty C?
Ooh, good. It's a good question. Very good question. And I think it's kind of one of those things where the Vikings kept AP out pretty much all preseason too. With Aaron Rodgers, that situation, I don't think he has any ill will towards LaFleur or from what we know, I don't think. But a lot of teams sort of do this, but they like to kind of keep guys fresh, and guys want to actually, somewhat play. And I think if you'd ask like Kirk Cousins, I mean, he wants to play a little bit of the preseason. It's not like you're going to keep him out, but obviously you want to avoid injury, things like that. I think the Vikings might do that with Dalvin, but we'll see. But pertaining to Rodgers, just going back to that, I think it definitely sends a message saying, he knows the organization, the people up top, he's not happy with, obviously, as we all know. But I think the fact that they're giving Love more reps is telling everyone else, be prepared, because this is happening at some point, either after this season or the season after, and whatnot. So I think, honestly, with the turmoil and everything, it's fine with me. I don't care, because at this point, Rodgers is going to be the way he is, and the Packers are going to be the way they are, and they're going to stand firm. But after the season, if people say, well, winning cures everything like that, well, they went to the NFC Championship game, and things didn't change there.
Didn't help.
So, yeah, I would say Voldy. It's got my stamp of approval, because this divorce is going to happen. It's not going to happen during the season, but I think it's going to happen after the season. And if he stays, then I guess we were wrong about it. I don't know. I think the organization needs to understand a couple things on that as well. So, yeah, it's got my stamp of approval since the Packers are in turmoil. So, oh, well. Voldy, what do you think?
It's a very similar situation to where we were well over a decade ago now at this point.
Yeah.
15 years ago now at this point, with the Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre situation too. Because towards the end of Favre's career with the Packers, he didn't play a whole lot in the preseason. There was definitely a lot of Aaron Rodgers to show off. Now we're here 15-plus years later, and we're seeing the same treatment now as the turntables in this situation too. Jordan Love is getting all the first-team reps, at least for the preseason, at least to start off here, with only 3 preseason games to be played. I would certainly think that Aaron Rodgers would at least like to get in on some of the action, maybe not play a whole lot, but at least start getting some of that timing down, or at least, get some of those reps in, because, at the end of the day, you could be the best quarterback at all. I mean, practice and game reps are 2 completely different things, especially when you've got defensive linemen and all sorts of different players coming at you as well. To at least get some of those game situations, you can prepare as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you still got to go out there and actually play the game itself. This is definitely going to be one of the ones. There's going to be multiple straws to break this camel's back, and I think this is not the first one, but it's definitely a big contender in breaking this all up, because of the fact that Rodgers not going to be playing on the preseason. Let's see how long it takes him to get started in the regular season come week 1. So I think it is definitely stamp of approval for this marriage to be ending very, very soon. The divorce papers are getting filed as we speak.
Yeah, the divorce papers are getting filed as we speak, and I think I think the drama is just. I mean, it might have taken a dip after him start coming back, but people are still going to talk about it. I mean, it's that simple. So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, this past weekend, obviously, we did see the Centennial class for the NFL Hall of Fame, class of 2020, and the class of 2021 in Canton, Ohio for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which has already brought up who you think is going to be coming in for next year's Hall of Fame class. And there is a star-studded lineup of first-year ballot first-year guys, as well as some holdovers from previous years. Taking a look at the list, you see some star-studded wide receivers: Anquan Boldin, Steve Smith, Andre Johnson. You get pass rusher in DeMarcus Ware. Even the likes of Devin Hester is eligible for the Hall of Fame this year as well. Whether you want to call him a special teamer, a wide receiver, just an overall highlight reel, Devin Hester up for eligibility this year. Then some other holdovers like former offensive tackle Tony Baselli. Richard Seymour is still up for finalization as well. Even like Leroy Butler, Torrey Holt, even Sam Mills. You see Zach Thomas, Reggie Wayne are still on that list, among a few other candidates. You got Jared Allen, Rondé Barber, Clay Matthews Jr., not the Clay Matthews we know, his dad. That's the one that we're talking about. Clay Matthews Jr., that is. All a part still out there and eligible for the Hall of Fame class. Looking at the next class for 2022, who do you think would make the next round of eligible players for the class of 2022 for the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah, so from the guys that you've mentioned, I would say, looking at this, I want to save one because I think this could be really controversial. Devin Hester is for sure. Definitely. That is 100%. The guy was a highlight reel. The thing is he wasn't a good wide receiver or they tried to make him into a running back, things like that. But one of the best kick returners I've ever seen. I mean, you had Dante Hall and everything like, but Devin Hester was something else, and he burned the Vikings more than once. So him for sure. Steve Smith, no doubt about it. Steve Smith was a competitor. He was a beast. I loved watching Steve Smith play, and obviously he had a way of words too. Andre Johnson, absolutely. I think Andre Johnson definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Interesting.
I really do. I really do believe that. And Andre Johnson, I think, should be a Hall of Famer. Not a first. I'll say this, maybe not first ballot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying first ballot, but I think eventually he will, because I thought he was pretty prominent to that Texans organization for a while.
He was, yes, very much so.
So I would say him, and he's 11th in all-time receiving yards too. So throwing that out there. Now let's get to Anquan Boldin. I don't know if there's enough there. Now the reason why I say that is because I feel like he had a stellar rookie season. And we talked about, with Justin Jefferson having a really good rookie season, and so did Anquan Boldin with the Cardinals. Now, he had a lot of clutch catches in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. He's had a pretty doggone good career. Now, I wouldn't say he's going to get it right away because I think it's going to be kind of it's kind of one of those things where it's going to be, I think Andre Johnson will get in before him, but I just think Anquan Boldin, I don't think is a for sure ticket. Right. But then the other guys you mentioned, I think Jared Allen should.
Has
really
to get
do.
it. I mean, come on.
Torrey Holt, yep. Torrey Holt, Rondé Barber for sure. I think he should be in there. Zach Thomas was a beast for the Dolphins back in the day too. Clay Matthews Jr., I'd say so. I think the senior status and obviously Drew Pearson pushed off, but that's just my opinion on that. But he's a good player nonetheless. But yeah, I would say that there's a lot of for sure's, but then there's guys that are definitely on that line of I don't know. If Bolden gets it, good for him. If he does, good for him. So that's my thoughts. So Voldy, what do you think?
I'm looking at it at a lot of different situations. I would definitely say Jared Allen will definitely get in. I'd like to say this year, maybe in the next couple of years for sure. I think that's going to be a slow burn with that one. I think if the selection committee is smart, they definitely put him in as soon as possible while he still has the personality and the name recognition because, you know what, he's still got and it's going to be a great Hall of Fame speech for that sure. too, and I think he'll be absolutely hilarious. Tony Baselli is another guy that I think should definitely go in. Offensive lineman, it's hard to evaluate with numbers and everything, but I think he was a good enough contribution that starting franchise for Jacksonville when they came to the league that he certainly made quite the impact. Now, the question is with Devin Hester. It's like the designated hitter in baseball, in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, as soon as one goes, then they all got to go. Dante Hall, the human joystick, throwing up the original X as well. Devin Hester never had a position. Was he a running back? Was he a wide receiver? Was he a defensive back? Never really played anything but wide receiver wearing the number 23.
Which is weird.
Then you just send him back there on punts and, kickoffs. Obviously, the Hall of Fame numbers are up there. Record for most return touchdowns with 20. In punt returns, kickoff returns, and even one missed field goal that was returned for a touchdown as well. I mean, that certainly is worthy as well. My question is, if he's the first one to go in, well, what about all the other return guys that made great numbers that weren't exactly in before Hester went in? Andre Johnson, I think, definitely is Hall of Fame worthy. Let's just see how long it takes. Steve Smith, I think Steve Smith's also very Hall of Fame worthy too. Oh, yeah. Anquan Boldin, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no right now. Maybe 5-10 years down the road. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Off the field contributions, I think is definitely going to play a big factor in his legacy too. Andre Johnson being one of the main faces in the start of that franchise and down in Houston too, and especially in some very lean years and a couple of years where they made the playoffs too. He was a big factor in all that too. But looking at the list as a whole, there's a lot of guys out there that are definitely going to be up for the Hall of Fame, hopefully in the next few years, and hopefully it'll be a nice big classic like it was this year too.
Yeah, and it was good. I mean, having the double, 2020 and then 2021 with Peyton Manning, John Lynch, Steve Hutch, congrats to Steve Hutchinson.
Shout out to Hutch for making the Hall of Fame. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. He was great for the Vikings. He was part of the 2009 crew as well.
Great.
He was cornerstone to their success with AP too. He was great. But anyway, I think a lot of these guys are going to get a fair shake. So we'll see what happens. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, and another interesting twist of fate when it comes to the name, image, and likeness deal for college football players. Well, one recent player that recently transferred from Houston to Miami, quarterback Derek King, has become the first college player to sign an endorsement deal with an NHL team. That's right. The Florida Panthers have announced they've reached a deal with Derek King of the Miami Hurricanes. He will appear at some Panthers games and events, plus engage with fans on social media and produce digital content as well. The deal also calls for King to work with the Panthers to develop a merchandise collection, a co-branded art, and his own exclusive concession menu item to be available at all Panthers home games for the upcoming season as well. Financial terms were not disclosed. I think just getting your own name and probably your own sandwich or something at a Panthers game is pretty cool to begin with. Yeah. But is it absurd or approved that the Florida Panthers going this far out for Hurricanes quarterback Derek King for that name, image, and likeness deal?
I think it's got. I'd say it's got my stamp of approval right here and right now. I think what they're doing with this is a smart way, and the financial terms were not disclosed, and obviously some people might have thoughts on how this all works. But obviously with the image and likeness deal as well that has been going on, this is the best way I feel like that they're doing this. And it's kind of interesting because, you know, it's he's playing for the Hurricanes, obviously, and now he's with the Florida Panthers, helping out with the Florida Panthers. That's awesome. And obviously he's going to do a lot of things here. I mean, this isn't something that he's just going to, you know, show up and be like, all right, I got to do my hours here. No, he's going to be working. And it just shows that, you know, you can be able to make money off your image and likeness. And I think, you know, King's going to do just a fine job. And, you know, obviously he was saying the whole NIL thing. I think it's really good for college football. My thing was work with good companies. You can't work with everybody. You want to work with companies that align with your core values. You don't want to go out there, work with that company, that company, that company. So I see where he's coming from. So, yeah, I think it's got – I mean, I'd say it's got my stamp of approval. I think it's something that we can really look – or other organizations can look into as well. So, yeah, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you think?
Big hockey guy, apparently. Big hockey guy. That Derek King.
You like that?
Guy hasn't even played a snap yet for the Canes. He transferred this past offseason or whatever through the portal or whatever after he was with Houston the last few years. I just think it's very interesting that the fact that the guy gets his own menu item. I'm kind of upset by that. I think at this point we should have our own food and our menu item. I'm just throwing it out there. Sure. If there was one thing, a bonus question, obviously it's got my stamp of approval for it as well. Sure. I mean, the Florida Panthers are desperate enough to get people in their seats. Might as well just throw some money at a couple of college kids to at least maybe get some fans into the arena a little bit more instead of fans dress up like a seat night each and every night for the Florida Panthers at home games. But and a bonus question as well, what would your menu item be?
Ooh, my menu. It'd probably be a cheeseburger. I can tell you that much. I love cheeseburgers.
GG Matty C sliders or something
like that? Yeah, no, that's now we're talking. We got it then. Voldy, we got to think like, I don't know. What's your favorite food then?
You know, I would go probably shield sauce or something.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because that's what we did for Voldy's vlogs. Exactly. That would make sense.
Chicken tenders, a little shield sauce, and boom, you're good to go.
All right. We're going to hold on to this. We're going to get it rolling. I like that shield sauce. Would it be spicy, though? Would it be?
Oh, yeah. It's got to be spicy.
I figured.
It's got to have a little kick to it, maybe a little tropical, taste to it. So we'll see.
Because why not? Why the heck not?
Why not?
I'd say it's both got our stamps of approval. Good luck to him, and I think he'll do just fine. So I'll be.
Let's hope.
Let's hope. Yeah, let's hope. All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, there is still no quite determination if the NHL is going to actually let their players play in the upcoming Beijing Winter Olympics coming up in 6 months. Yeah. Believe it or not, the Winter Olympics start in 6 months. February 7th through the 22nd. That is the scheduled break that the NHL will take with the Winter Olympics set to take place in the next 6 months. But when the NHL released its schedule for 2021-22, it came with the caveat that, quote, no formal agreement or decision has yet been made regarding the possible participation of players in the Winter Olympics. So there is, but there isn't a plan for players to go into the NHL while also being able to participate in the Winter Olympics. I don't know why I keep hitting my computer here, but it just so happens. So Nearly 3 weeks of the schedule has been revealed with the talks of the NHL, the Players Association, the International Ice Hockey Federation, and the International Olympic Committees as well, to try and figure out what's the best way that they can do this. Kind of similar, a lot of talks about things with COVID restrictions with athletes in Beijing. They got to self-isolate themselves before going, so maybe throwing another week plus before the Olympics actually start. So basically taking a month plus, or that 3 weeks would probably be the amount, because the Olympics is like 2 plus 2.5 weeks or something like that in the first place. So you throw that in there. Last time this came around in Sochi in 2018, I should say, the Olympics was all played by, amateur players or non-NHL players. But it certainly is quite interesting because no formal agreement has come up yet. Is it absurd or approved? Should the NHL allow its players to participate in the Winter Olympics?
Well, the fact that they don't know yet, and there's a couple of things from this article that get my attention, and apparently there's 2 NHL teams that say that the final decision will be in August, end of August, I should say. Okay. Well, then there's a NHL deputy commissioner, Bill Daley, that says, yes, I think that's accurate. So if you know what it is, then have that decision.
Exactly.
Well, like, what are we waiting for? Like, here's what is flabbergasting to me is that if they were to say that this is the final schedule, we're not gonna, we're not gonna, do anything other than that. The schedule, and there's season ticket holders that got these season tickets, but the thing is that a lot of these teams can't be, they won't be able to market special events to the ticket buyers. Things like that. I mean, that's a big proponent of what they should be talking about. No, obviously there's going to be a season. I mean, no one's saying that there won't. But to get to your question, I feel like it's tradition to do it, and I think it's worked out in the past, and I don't see why not. But clearly, the NHL, I think, is worried about player fatigue, or, with COVID going on too. We don't know how things are going to be at that time. But I think it's absurd that they haven't made a decision yet. But I think they should go to the Olympics just because I feel like it's tradition. I think some players would like to enjoy going there. But if it's too much, then yeah, don't do it then. So it's kind of half and half with me, but it'd be kind of nice to see some Olympic Games, see them play Canada, things like that, and we've talked about it on the show here too. So, yeah, I think I would say that that it'd be fun to see them, but I won't cry over it if they don't. But let's make a decision here, NHL. Gary Bettman, another reason not to like Gary Bettman, right? So, Voldy, what do you think?
Yeah, the one group that isn't making the decision while everybody else is the actual NHL itself. Every team has got plans already in place.
Yep.
Certain teams are already limiting the amount of tickets people can buy. They have first half and second half season ticket plans. They're making changes for possible giveaways. They've got, the Dallas Stars are potentially moving up or pushing back the retirement of a jersey number and all sorts of things that go in between of that as well. And the fact that they're the ones making the plans, they're ready to go, for the Olympic break, but the NHL doesn't even have that fully, in place
approved
yet.
Yeah.
It's stupid, honestly, because of the fact everybody else is assuming it's already happening. You release the schedule with the break in there, but yet you're saying, we're not 100% sure we're going to make that happen yet or not. So, look, it's already in place. Everybody's got a plan. Just say, all right, cool, we'll do it. We'll just be done with it. It's there. It's in place. We're good to go. Let everybody do it. There's already coaches. Team Canada's already announced, their coaching staff for this year. 4 coaches, all of them are head coaches in the NHL right now. And if they, if the NHL says, sorry, we're not doing the Olympic break, those coaches are already committed. So they're already going to be going, I would assume, leaving their NHL teams and then going to Beijing to, coach Team Canada, or unless they get a bunch of, guys that were in the minors or minor league coaches or something like that, or NHL assistants for that matter. I think the NHL just needs to, put it in stone, and hopefully the deadline at the end of August is the one that is right, so guys can start at least planning and preparing to either, go to the Olympic camp or something like that, and make it the possibility of, playing and representing their country too.
Right. And I think at this point, plan on having it. if the other coach is committed already, plan on having it. I think we can just leave it at that, and NHL, get your crap together, obviously. So anyway, great job with ARA as always. Voldy, a lot of cool stories that we talked about, and a lot of things going on here too as we're approaching the football season too. So that's hard to believe. We were talking about that before the show too. So. Anyway, let's get it rolling with some Shield shout-outs. We got some pretty sweet ones. We got some Olympic ones. We got some we got some Minnesota-based ones that are pretty cool too. So let's get it going with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who are you shouting out tonight?
Well, I got to start off here with a big shout-out to the fine vendors at the Crow Wing County Fair, including which Ralph and Pearl here. Time for a little show and tell.
Whoa! Look at that.
Of a New England Patriots banner that I just had to get for myself. And the rule of thumb is if you get something, then the wife has to get something. And lo and behold, end up walking away with also a poster of every Marvel character in the comic book world that is.
Oh, wow.
A nice little addition to the collections there. So that's going to sit there until I find a nice place to hang that up. So big shout out to Ralph and Pearl for that as well. Getting on to some of the Olympics as well. Big shout out Team USA Baseball for taking silver in the Olympics as well. Eddie Alvarez, second baseman for Team USA, becoming the 6th Olympian all-time to win a medal in the summer, as well as the Winter Olympics, did take home silver in the likes of speed skating. I believe that was in 2014, I want to say, with in Sochi, I believe. Don't quote me directly on that. But a big Shield shout-out as well to Team USA women's basketball and Minnesota Lynx members, of course, Coach Cheryl Reeves, and players Nafisa Collier and Sylvia Fowles for winning gold. 7th straight gold medal for Team USA women's basketball. Another dynasty we are not greatly appreciating for that. But also a big Shield shout-out to Apple Valley native, former Golden Gopher, All-American national champion, and now Olympic champion, Gable Steveson, on capturing the gold medal in the most electrifying last 13 seconds, scoring 4 points in the last 13 seconds to win the gold medal. An absolutely unbelievable performance to capture the gold medal in Tokyo. And unfortunately, this week we have to end Shield shoutouts on a bit of a somber note. We do want to wish rest in peace and best of wishes to the Bobby Bowden family. Old former Florida State head football coach Bobby Bowden did pass away over the weekend at the age of 91 due to complications from unfortunate disease. When he retired, he was second all-time, 377 career coaching victories before the unfortunate takeaway of victories from the likes of Coach Joe Paterno at Penn State. He was head football coach at Howard College, now Samford University, West Virginia, as well as Florida State. The Bobby Bowden unfortunately passed away this weekend. And just actually yesterday as well, an icon in the world of hockey did pass away. Tony Esposito, the longtime goaltender for the Chicago Blackhawks, did pass away due to complications from pancreatic cancer. Won the Calder Trophy, the Rookie of the Year award, and also 3 Vezina trophies, with one of them coming in his rookie season as well. All-time wins leader for the Chicago Blackhawks between the pipes. Also has number 35 retired back in 1988. Tony Esposito did pass away yesterday, and that's going to do it for Shield shoutouts this week.
Well, thank you, Shield, and a lot of good shout-outs. And, yeah, I mean, it's especially with, Esposito passing away, Bobby Bowden, it's, it was rough. I mean, it's rough, especially, how good, good Esposito was, and obviously how good of a coach Bobby Bowden was. So, and then the Olympians, though, I mean, just awesome. A lot of Minnesota connections, which we love, and obviously what you got there with your banner and some Marvel stuff, a stamp of approval, absolutely. So, anyway, Shield, great job with Shield shoutouts as always. But before we wrap things up, like always, let's remember that we do have shirts. We have some nice shirts. We've got some stuff in stock for the zoners, and it's $20, $5 shipping. But let's remember too, okay, that this is for the zoners, and obviously, once you make that $20 if you're around, or $25, you donate to keep this on air. You donate to keep this on air. And it's not just the shirts, folks. It's the stickers, the stickers. We got a lot of stickers as well. And they're cheap. They're very cheap. You give us $2 for the small ones. The big ones, they're $3. Very cheap if you would like some. We've got plenty. And if you want more, we got more. You can put them anywhere. You can take them anywhere you want. You can put them on your laptop. Put them on your desk. I don't care. Do whatever you want with it. Put it on your binder if you're going to school or something. I don't know. But we thank National Fleet Graphics, Graphic, and Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson, for helping out with that as well. Make sure you guys check out W2 Performance. Rattel's just posting videos on the daily. He's kicking butt. He's got stickers as well. They're $2, so make sure you check out his content as well. And we will get him on at some point. It's going to happen. And then also shout out to Jacque O'Keefe, Jacque's Junkyard, now with Apparel. Make sure you check out his stuff as well. He's on the TikToks, so make sure you check that out too. And then check out Breaking Into the League with Sam Gabrielli, Ryan Martin, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We tried to work something out with them. We're going to still keep working on that. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and where. A matter of when and where. So we'll have that going for you guys as well. So without further ado, that'll do the show. A little longer than usual, but hey, it worked out great. And it worked out great. And Glance had his absurd statement, so things went great. And Voldy's got his sticker ready to go on his koozie there. So we love it. We love it. But anyway, that's episode 75, and we'll be back with 76 next week, and we'll keep things rolling. And, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Allah.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.
What's up, zoners? Ben Lieber here, former Minnesota Vikings linebacker, telling you to tune in to MinneZona Sports Live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook Live. Skol Vikes!